want to thank everyone for coming out today. I have been asked to host on behalf of our company a very exciting and special, near and dear to my heart category about esports and content creation. I've been lucky enough to have an expert, a good friend, and someone I've worked with for almost 10, 11 years now, Chris Phillips, who is his knowledge in this category is wildly more deep than mine, and I always come to him when something cool is coming out, or what do you think about this, or what do you think about that. So the two of us want to reach out to you guys, want to talk to you guys. We got some exciting stuff. We're hoping that we have a captive audience, because we're going to be doing stuff about captivating audiences. Right before we came on here, we were actually nerding out a little bit, and we were talking about AI, and we were talking about how that impacts content creation, putting that all together here for you guys. And as we go along, and Chris talks about the different products, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsors of Asus, Lenovo, and Logitech. Seagate, thank you very much. We always appreciate our vendors, and we appreciate our customers. So again, thank you for joining us. But without any entry music, I would like to introduce Mr. Chris Phillips, our Solutions Lab expert.
Austin will get us entry music at some point. I trust in our production team to do it. So thank you so much for the introduction, Chad. So many of the people here that are probably on the call have seen me 100 times before. I'm usually in Chad's seat hosting these events, but I'm usually very excited when I get the opportunity to actually kind of speak about something in more of the educator and the presenter role. And I actually want to talk a little bit about my background, because I feel like my background is uniquely just perfect for this specific topic. I've been with D&H for 13 years, actually started in our video game division. As you know, Chad said, he's been here for almost 11. When I was kind of starting to move to a more technical role, Chad was taking over more of the video game stuff. So we kind of intersected, and we've kind of been working together since then. Before that, I've been working in the video game industry for almost 2 decades. I started in 2004 with Sony Computer Entertainment of America. I was doing the job that is now a marketing manager for their SOCOM US Navy SEAL line of video games. So that was kind of my introduction into working within the video game industry. And throughout that job and a couple other jobs, I was a tournament organizer for over a dozen different esports competitions. In fact, with Sony, we did 2 specific competitions around the SOCOM US Navy SEALs franchise that was, at the time, the largest and second largest online video game tournament ever ran. I think the first one was somewhere around 4,000 players, and the second one was 8,000 players. And this was like early to mid 2000s, which is insane to think about in that period of time, because broadband internet was still becoming a thing. To sort of have managed a tournament like that so early in my career was really something challenging to do, but it's something I take a lot of pride of. And then I've also, before I came to D&H, I've had 5 years experience working in live production of both sports and entertainment events. I've worked like many different events, including Super Bowl, World Series, Stanley Cup Finals. I've worked American Idol events. I've worked WNBA Finals. I worked 5 seasons full-time with the Detroit Red Wings, and I, again, love Chad because me and him rep the wing wheel here at D&H. There's a bunch of us, but we've got that connection as well. So
So you were a content creator before they even coined the cool phrase content creator.
My wife said if I would have just I started putting videos on YouTube 14 years ago when it first around the time it first launched. I was doing video game reviews. Like, if you still go on to YouTube, I'm sure you could find them of old reviews I did almost 2 decades ago. If I would have stuck to that path, who knows what I would be doing nowadays. But I decided to defocus from that and go legitimate into kind of legitimate film and live event production. That's why I kind of stopped doing the internet stuff, but I still did it as a hobby. I think, you and I, Chad, can both agree, even though what we do here at D&H is very technical focused, we still enjoy doing this stuff as a hobby as well. So
I
Uh,
think a lot of our customers out there have
right.
taken hobbies and turned them into lifestyles and sources of income
That's why
for
they're
them, and
here. Yeah.
that's why we're here.
So
And
the Venn diagram of my experience, kind of both on the live production side and the kind of the video game industry side, fits perfectly in this topic. So we want to talk about content creation today. And before we get to the hardware, I want to talk about like the types of content creation we're going to this hardware will apply to. Kind of the two ones we're going to be focusing on mostly is live streaming and social media. Live streaming, for most of you guys know, is when either one or more content creators are putting live video content onto a streaming platform like Twitch, YouTube, YouTube Live, or Kick. There's Facebook kind of has gone away. Microsoft closed down Mixer a couple of years ago, so the live stream platforms are getting a little limited. It's usually just Twitch and YouTube TV. But more live stream platforms will kind of keep coming up, and it doesn't really matter the platform. The hardware remains the same. On the social media side, you're doing something a little bit more different, where you're just kind of creating short clips that is just to promote your brand or your live stream on other social media platforms like Facebook, Twitch, Reddit, the platform formerly known as Twitter, or whatever Elon Musk wants to call it today. I think it's going to be Y or Z next week, but whatever social media platform you pick, you're creating short clips, short content to either help promote your brand or help promote something you're doing, like a live stream or things of that nature. Uh,
Chris, if you could go back to that
yeah,
slide, I think
sure.
one of the things that we talked about prior to this is LinkedIn, and from a
Yeah,
professional, that is the professional's Facebook. And when you're doing content creation, you want to be professional. You want to come off professional. You want to be sharp and crisp, and having the right products or selling the right products to your customer base, so they are every bit what they envision in their head appearing online, because once you're on the internet, you're on there forever, and that's how you're remembered, good or bad. And you always want your content to be impactful in whatever ways. And that's why this hardware, the stuff and the services that we talk about today, and these partners sell top line premium product, and we're here to help put all that stuff together. And you've seen Chris's background. He knows this stuff. He's worked with me to create several different streams for DNH.
mhm.
We've done public events to our customers. If you've ever attended any of our DNH Thread shows in the past, you've seen the esports booths and the events we've done there, and it just keeps coming.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I will say, we put on an event local to our Harrisburg office, where we used basically all the hardware we're going to talk about today to do a full live streaming event. And I'll kind of on next slide we'll kind of talk about, there's two types of live streams you usually see. Kind of that entertainment live stream. You see so many of these Twitch streamers or YouTube streamers that have become famous. Your ninjas, your XQCs, your Pokemains, whoever. They are creating content to entertain their fans on these live streaming platforms. And then there's a second type, which is live events, usually esports competitions that me and Chad just like went, hey, we've got all the hardware. Let's show how not only our resellers, but even the DNH co-owners, how we can take hardware that we sell at DNH and put on one of these live stream events. So we did that about a year ago. We used basically all the hardware that I'm going to talk about today. So if you think that type of event is not within your reach, it most certainly is. And I'm hoping you know a little bit more about that hardware at the end of this presentation. You have a little bit more confidence that, hey, if this is something I want to do, I can reach out to DNH and they can help me execute on it. So who you should be targeting. Now, DNH has a wide variety of resellers, and all of you guys target a wide variety of different customers. Us personally, we've seen a lot of success in these three pillars of customers right now. K-12 has been getting into esports pretty hard since the pandemic happened. And just because we're kind of all out of this post-pandemic world doesn't mean those efforts in the esports industry have subsided. There's still a lot of demand out there for esports programs in the K-12 industry. So what they're doing on the K-12 side is they're doing content creation as part of an esports program. So you have the esports program where you have athletes that are playing the games themselves, but then you also have students that are the ones that are uh, doing the live streams of their matches. So other students can watch their team play on the internet. Students are running that. They're the people that are operating the hardware, setting up the hardware, and the personalities on the stream. They're getting they're getting instructions from the teaching staff and things of that nature, and they're also then taking those clips from those matches and then creating social media content that they can promote for the next one. So this is things we're starting to see in K-12 more as an attachment to the esports program, rather than just kind of a curriculum that's happening there.
Yeah, and
Uh,
the
Go ahead.
focus a little bit on the K-12, Chris, just
Mhm.
to throw in there. If you think about it, and I'm going to date myself with my age, but we go back to when we were in middle school and high school, and our home economics classes, the
Yeah.
cooking and the sewing and the typewriters and even the basic Windows DOS program that we have gone through. Our children today, this is their technology and
Yeah.
technology. They have to come out of school with these skills already. How these children consume content is much different than how we at our current age consume content. And
Mhm.
these are the next generation of also consumers. They're going to buy, and by teaching them this, giving them these hands-on skills at a much younger age, it becomes more adapted, becomes part of their DNA, and that transcends into the next pillar, which is the higher education, where they go deeper into it.
Yeah, the higher education and Chad, again, like you have a lot of hands-on experience because we did a lot of work with the Harrisburg University that is close to our corporate location. They're building large practice venues for their athletes to be able to practice multitude of games, be able to game plan what they're doing next, because it becomes uh, even much more of a team and collaborative event when you get into higher ed. They're also creating large scale esports rooms that they can host events in, where they can have local viewers come in and watch the matches. Whether that's on a giant video wall, things of that nature. These require a lot of assistance, not just from the technical side of putting all the equipment together, but on the pro AV side of getting videos out of systems to video walls. Usually you have to go through a switching system to get it to the video wall. Content distribution is a huge part of that. And we've got wonderful experts, not only on the esports and gaming side, but also the pro AV side, as well as the services side to help install those things in a location. So DNH has all the tools necessary to kind of pull off these larger scale higher ed opportunities we're seeing out there. And the final one, private businesses. Chad talked about LinkedIn. Private businesses don't just refer specifically to like land centers. It could be any one of you, any one of the resellers that are on the call decide that I want to start to build my company's brand on LinkedIn. How do I start to do that? What hardware do I need to be able to create content to kind of show what I'm all about to the world and have customers reach out to me rather than I'm going out to them? Uh, it's the kind of the same deal. You're out there, you're building your brand on social media. You're either creating content to advertise your facility or what your business is, and then on the kind of the more lane center side, they're using their space to send to broadcast live tournament events, whether they're hosting the event or someone's paying them to host the event on their behalf. It's a huge industry. We're seeing a lot of these start to pop up. I believe there was one major one that popped up in Dallas a couple months ago. They got a lot of decent press. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's a part of the business that's something that you should kind of keep in mind.
There's a question in the chat.
Sure.
We have someone out there. They're working on acquiring funds towards K-12 programs, and a great question is, what's a great one-liner to describe esports? And I'll take a shot at this.
Go
Obviously,
ahead.
put me on the spot with this question, but it is a it is not defined by geographical or genderized limits.
Nope.
Esports is a social venue platform that kids from one side of the country can play kids in Japan. It is not determined by sex. Everybody is on an equal platform. You can have sporting events being played in Mexico and South Africa, and it teaches children how to foster relationships with people in other parts of the country. It does not have limits, social or economic limits, because of how it goes to market. It is really communal, and the whole world is involved. There's a saying that's soccer is the world sport. Well, actually, esports is the world sport because it can actually be played by anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. And what I would also say, as an addition to that, is one thing to kind of keep in mind is the students that are signing up for these esports programs in the K-12 industry. Those students, 87% of the time, that's their first extracurricular activity they get involved in at the school. So for those students, if it wasn't for an esports program, they would never get involved with an extracurricular activity like that. And I think for those of us that were a part of those kind of activities when we were in school, the things we learned about working with others and having that camaraderie between students, not only from your school but other schools that are trying to accomplish the same thing as you, was invaluable. And you get that from a K-12 program, an esports program in the K-12, not just because you have both the guys and the girls competing together or competing with each other against other schools, but you have anyone from all kinds of backgrounds, even if they're not particularly good gamers, but they have a unique way to tell a story. Those people still gravitate to the esports program to create content to tell the story of the athletes that are playing. It's unlike any other extracurricular activity that you could pitch to a school, and it just has the advantage of getting you to sell cool hardware that we'll talk about.
So there's a question from Rodney Hall asking about examples of private businesses created their brand using content creation, everything. And I hope, if I understand your question, I think I can give you a really good example. It may not exactly fit, but it's how there's no ceiling to content creation and what people do. And I'll nerd out on you a little bit, but there is on Twitch, a company called Critical Role. They're voice actors that do voice acting for cartoons, commercials. You've probably heard them. They don't get paid very much, but they got together and they started playing role-playing games, and they decided for whatever reason they were going to stream this. It went from a couple of people sitting around a table role-playing, but they streamed it, and they started adding content. They started adding scenes, and now they're a multi-million-dollar company that has their own cartoons on Amazon. So they went from very small YouTube videos to a multi-million-dollar. And called Critical Role. You can look them up, Google them right now if you want. The gentleman that started is Matt Mercer. He has no college education, but is now a millionaire from a hobby. So I hope that it's kind of an example of what you can do with content creation. How you take a side hustle or hobby and you turn it into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. It's not going to happen to everybody, but they bought their products from somebody somewhere.
So, and there are things that there are trends that happen on social media that you would be surprised that oh, these guys actually just started doing this to promote their business. But you have I've never gone down this rabbit hole, but I've seen it of dermatologists about skincare and they're taking care of warts or whatever, and they're showing how they do it on the internet. They're doing that to promote their business. Chiropractic, huge on YouTube. The number of chiropractors that are just showing using the tools we're going to show you today to create content of hey, this is how I help my patients to give them a better life through chiropractic and stretching and massage. There are many examples of private businesses just telling their story on the internet, getting a following because they're good at telling their story. And not only are they now making money off of the content they're creating because they're selling ads on that content, but then they have that piece of content advertising their business and bringing in people from all across the country that want to have access to their services because they've seen it on the internet. There's hundreds of examples. I would love to kind of get into more of those and kind of show you guys the research of that. But we're 22 minutes in, and we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes now. Let's
Keep the
start talking
questions.
about hardware. Yeah, keep the questions
Yes,
coming
keep
though.
the questions coming. We'll do our best. If we can't answer them live, we have the information captured, and we'll answer you in a follow-up. But yes, please, we love the interaction.
So I want to talk about compute options real quick because in the streaming world, you've got like two options. You can set up a single PC streaming system or a dual PC streaming system. If you don't know what a dual PC streaming system is, that's perfectly fine. I actually go into a technical demonstration about how to set one of those up. If you go into the resources, that link is in the resource. It will show you the process of going through and connecting one PC's is out to another PC in via network protocol to kind of make sure that the PC that's playing a game, for example, is just worried about putting the graphics for that game on your monitor. And then you have a second PC that's doing the encoding that goes to the internet. So you can do a one or two PC setup. What I will say though is many of the hardwares or many of the new hardware that's coming out today on the CPU and GPU side have additional processes in place to help you be able to do that in a one PC setup. So most new GeForce graphics cards have a separate chip, separate from what is the traditional GPU that is doing the graphics for the games you might be playing. That chip specifically dedicated to just doing encoding for live streaming or video recording. On the CPU side, Intel has plenty of accelerators in their latest 13th and probably in the 14th that have yet to be announced generation CPUs that are specifically designed around AI processes or helping make sure that these backend processes of like running OBS or running your streaming software is handled by a less taxed CPU, so your more powerful CPUs can be dedicated to just the gameplay. So right now, dual PC is still relevant, but as hardware continues to advance, you're going to see less of that, and you're going to see more of just single PC setups. Not to say that current streamers aren't using current single PC setups. XQC, I mentioned before, he's one of the most popular streamers on Twitch. Uses a single PC setup. His video quality might suffer, but it doesn't. He can make up for it through just pure storytelling. So you're not
Yeah,
limited by your hardware ability. We'll
and
kind of
Chris,
talk more about that. Go ahead.
there are OEM manufacturers out there right now and other partners out there that are actually building desktop towers that have the dual PC setup in
Yes,
one tower
yes.
solution. So there's actually two PCs in one tower. The one PC is meant for running your streaming content, while the other is meant for gaming. And D&H can help you find those partners. But for you, you got to qualify your customer and understand what's the content they're looking to create.
Yep.
What do they need? Because streaming and content creation is simple as recording from your phone, which is amateur, and then going the whole way up to doing hour-long content creations or streams on games, Minecrafts, or whatever it is, requiring much more power, cameras, and all the other stuff, what Chris is going to get into. But
Yeah. So, like if you're worried about streaming, you're always looking at those gaming PCs because you need that GPU. The GPU is a must, and if you're streaming gaming content, that content should be originating from a PC that is meant to game. So you're looking for processors with as many cores, the better. Like you said, on the Intel side, they have a lot of now processors that have a many high efficiency cores and low efficiency cores. Those low efficiency cores are very important to run the background tasks that you need to run a functioning stream. You need at least 16 megabytes of RAM. That is, at this point, in my opinion, the baseline for most any task that any of us are doing outside of even content creation. If you're just doing day-to-day computing where you have multiple applications open, I think 16 gigs is now the standard. 32 is still a lot. Like the next step up is 32. I wouldn't recommend most people go to 32, but 16 is the standard. SSDs, you need both just an SSD to kind of run your OS off of, and some kind of SSD HDD combo to store not only just the games, but the video clips that come for it as well. Media creation, you can move to more of a workstation type device. You don't need those GeForce cards. You can look at the Quadro cards, and more workstation type cards that are designed more around video and coding rather than graphics. But you still need that dedicated GPU, and you do need a large amount of storage when you're dealing with content creation, because you want to be able to save a lot of your content for a large period of times. I love these external storage devices, especially the ones from Seagate, that you can plug into your system. They have 16, 20 terabytes of storage. I fill that thing up, and then when it's full, I can just unplug it and plug the next one in. Because with USB 3 speeds, you're getting pretty much enough speed to to edit and render 4K clips in real time. If you start doing 8K, you might need to be running that through an NVMe drive. But at this point, like, there's no reason to be doing 8K for social media or live streaming. Most of those are still at 720p. Most YouTube streams or Twitch streams you go to is a 720p stream, and then if you like open up a live stream or video content on a social media platform, it's probably 720p as well. So absolutely no need to worry about 8K. If you've got yourself one of those portable drives, that's more than sufficient to be able to not only store but even edit off of for your content purposes.
I do love the Fire CUDA.
Yep.
It enhances the power, especially you're a laptop gamer like me. Just more power. I feel like Tim the Toolman. More power. More power.
More power. I can barely not reach, but I have a stack of 3 of them, and they are labeled in my desk drawer of what content is on there. I should have prepared, but I didn't. I got other things things I want to show off today. I don't want to talk too much about input-output devices, but they are important, especially if you're going to be doing gaming as part of it. You still want to kind of focus on that gaming product. Wired mices that have, at least a DPI that you can get up to 1600. Most people still play that at like 400 DPI, but the sensor refresh is important. I mean, I personally use a wireless solution. I've got the same mouse, just wirelessly, but it's on the PowerPlay, which is a wireless charger. So I've never had an issue where I'm using this mouse and it's died, because it's constantly in a state. If I look in the software, it's constantly in a state of 80% battery life. Keyboards, wired, still kind of the way to go. Mechanical keyboards have always been nice, but I've also told people, if you don't want that sound as I change slides trying to make clicky sounds, if you don't want those sounds, you can stick with a membrane keyboard. The reason most people select a mechanical keyboard is because of durability. On a membrane keyboard, those keys will eventually start to be less resilient, and they won't have the same pushback anymore. Basically, the piece of rubber that's underneath the keyboard will start to wear out, and it won't have the same ability to actuate the key anymore. With that being said, I've had membrane keyboards that have lasted 7 to 8 years, playing thousands of hours of games on without an issue. So don't feel like you're required to go out there and get a mechanical keyboard, but they are nice for a durability standpoint, and you have a lot more options in terms of lighting and changing your keycaps and things of that nature that don't exist in a membrane keyboard. And most of them also have macro keys that can assist with content creation. You can set a key on your keyboard specifically just for OBS to change scenes, or go to break, or cut the black, or start a recording and end a recording. Those are things you kind of want to keep in mind if you're going to be doing content creation as well. On the monitor side, gaming monitors are still going to be the way you want to go, unless you're doing content creation where you're doing some kind of where image quality is a must. Then there are monitors specifically out there that have true image color representation. Those I've seen limited need for them from a lot of the from what I've talked to with customers at DNH, but there's still use cases out there. But if you're looking for monitors for streaming or content creation, 120 hertz minimum is what you're looking for. I have found that 440p for my purposes is the best sweet spot right now for gaming, content creation, what have you, because it gives you a great image quality at a at less of a less of a graphical hit than a 4K monitor. Because if you're playing a game at a 4K monitor, you're probably going to get like 30 frames, but if you're at 1440p, you can get upwards to 60 to 80 frames. So it's that's something to kind of keep in mind. And the other feature you want to look out for is variable refresh rate features, VRR features. They're FreeSync, G-Sync. I actually have a video in the resources that kind of shows what variable refresh is and how it can help you get better image quality out of the games you're playing.
Hey, I want to talk a little bit about the
Sure.
monitors, Chris. I had a couple questions. If you're looking, there is a vast difference in what you might need. A lot of people think that for an esports customer, if you're building a lab, you're working with a school, and you got to put monitors in the lab, everyone thinks, well, I got to get the greatest monitor out there, the highest refresh. Most of the time, when you're doing an esports lab, they don't need the highest resolution because they usually dial down the graphics. It's more about the refresh rate on that. That's the important part, not 4K. And that's where, when you're qualifying your customers and you're talking to your customers, know what they need it for, and know that an in-depth content creator is going to need a lavish monitor. It's also important to say that you'll look and know that esports is a competitive sports, which just like anything else, you're really getting to what exactly you need, like sports science, how there's so much sports science. It's the same thing with esports. They know what they need to get out of it. When you're doing content creation or you're doing streaming and you're putting it on YouTube or Twitch, most of the time that is entertainment, and you want to be vibrant, you want to be bright, you want to have all of that stuff. So there's more questions when you're trying to provide that solutions, understanding what they're trying to get out of this product.
Yeah, if you guys go ahead and look in the resources, I just highlighted it. I'll highlight it again. There's a video entitled Building Esports Solutions. It's a great watch after this presentation because I go into showing you kind of just talking specifically about monitor resolutions and matching them up, not only with the graphics card, but the use case as well, because many gamers, especially in the esports side, as Chaz said, will bump their resolution down to get a better frame rate, or just it's what they're accustomed to. If you look at gamers that are playing like Counter-Strike or other shooters, they're playing at a resolution that is ancient. We're talking like 700 by or 1000 by 700. We're talking about resolutions that we've had since the 90s. But they've been playing since the 90s, so that's what they're accustomed to. And then current gamers will see the resolutions that these high-end esports people are playing at and mirror them, because they want to try and use the same settings that they're using, because they feel like that's going to give them a competitive advantage. I mean, I can't speak for that. I still use 1440p when I play my games, but if that's what you want to do, more power to you. But yeah, that's a great watch after this presentation's over if you want a little bit more information on that. Video input. Now, I talked briefly about there's no need for 4K or 8K because in many cases, what the content you're creating, where it's going, is usually maxed out at 720p to 1080p at this point. And that's true for cameras, input cameras. If you've got one of the Logitech, I believe these are the Life Cams. These cameras are great. They're a 1080p camera, 30 frames per second, But what I like about this camera in particular is that the mount itself allows you to set the orientation of the camera. So you can have an orientation that is 16 by 9 or 9 by 6. 9 by 6 being like your standard TikTok orientation, or you can change the orientation right on the mount itself to a 16 by 9. So if you're creating content for TikTok, you just have to reach up and change the orientation of your camera. You can set it back down, change it back for standard content as well. It's a great camera. It's very versatile, and it does basically everything you need it to do. So like you don't need kind of those high-end, super high-resolution cameras. But if you're looking to get a more professional look on your content, what you can do is utilize video capture. You can utilize video capture for two things. First of all, you can use it for capturing a video source like a PS5, an Xbox Series X, a Switch, another gaming PC. You can use that to capture those video sources directly into your system for your content creation, whether you're streaming or just recording content. You can also use the video capture hardware to capture the output of a DSLR camera. So you can take a high-end photo camera and use that as your main camera. That will give you a great control over like your focal length and how kind of like your background, how soft or harsh your background looks. If you're looking for a more cinematic look, you can then upgrade yourself to a video capture device with a DSLR camera and get that more finite control over the overall video presentation of your content. Next, I really want to talk about real quick is audio output, because there's a lot of options that are available to you, and like the overall theme of the video or audio output is, what do you feel like doing? You have wireless options similar to the headset I have on, like this one. These are great because they offer a lot of flexibility and comfort. This is why I use them when I'm doing a lot of the content creation I'm doing. Is I'm up and moving. I use my hand gestures a lot. I don't want to be hitting cables, smacking cables all over the place. So I enjoy the comfort I get from a wireless headphone. But the wired headphones still have a place, because if you're doing something more like just straight gaming or esports, you want that consistent low latency audio performance you get when you're plugged directly into a system. You don't have to worry about the headset dying, battery life. Like I have to make sure the battery life on this headset isn't going to die so I can hear Chad make fun of me throughout the rest of this broadcast. So there are some downsides to having the wireless headphones, but it's personal preference. Same with the earbuds. There are great earbud options if you're looking for a more minimalistic look. So if you don't want to have your headphones on all the time, you want to have a more natural look where you have just little earbuds on that may not even be able to be seen. That's an option out there for you guys as well. So those are something to keep in mind. Now, everything we've talked about prior to this has a level of importance, but I'm going to tell you right now, the next two things we're going to talk about are the most important when it comes to any level of content creation. The first is audio inputs, microphones. This is single-handedly the most important, because your content can suffer from poor image quality, poor lighting, poor bit rate. But if you've got bad audio quality, that is going to turn someone off quicker than any other distraction that might be out there. So having a dedicated microphone is one of the most important things I can talk about. You can use microphones that are attached to headphones. I would recommend avoiding these. These are great for if I'm on a Teams call, or I'm in Discord and I want to talk to my friends, or I'm over Xbox and I want to talk to my friends. But if you're creating content, if you're trying to connect with an audience, nothing is going to beat a dedicated audio device. There are two types of audio devices you can look at. You could look at your traditional USB microphones like this Blue Yeti I have in front of me, or you can go the other route, which is getting a XLR microphone like the Blue that Logitech has. Those need a separate mixer or audio input device to kind of get into your PC. But those offer a lot more flexibility in terms of the overall sound you can produce from that microphone. But for your purposes in content creation, like you can go ahead and grab like this Blue Yeti. You can put it on one of these mounting bars like this. You can buy a Blue Yeti that has a mounting bar that comes with it. It's one package that has this microphone and this bar. And these are important for just mic placement in your shot. I have one of these hooked up to this mic. I can move my mic around wherever I need. I can get it in a perfect place where I'm still talking at the camera, but the microphone's in the right space to capture my audio cleanly and still create a clear audio signal. These also have the ability to change the audio capture pattern. So if you want to do more of a podcast feel where you have one mic and you have two people on either side, you can change it so it's capturing audio on both sides. Right now, if I talk to the back end of this mic, it's going to probably sound a little tinny. It's not going to sound great because it's designed, it's pointed directly at me. So if I change that to more of a podcast mode, people on both sides will be able to be heard. So this is the most important thing because this is your piece of hardware you're using to tell your story. That's essentially what all content creation is storytelling.
I thought that's a great ad. We've all been on calls. We've all been because of Teams and whatever solution, Google Meets and everything. If the screen freezes, it is what it is. But we all know that person that has the sound quality. That's what kills it. That's what kills the presentation. You can turn the screen off and not watch it, but if you can hear it, you can still follow along. And it's if you go on YouTube, you watch any content creator, you'll notice the really good ones are using a mic and they still got the headphones on. And as Chris was talking, you saw how as he moved it around, the voice, the sound quality changed. Don't skimp on this one. This isn't one that you want to skip. Again, asking those great qualified questions, what the content is that the person's trying to create. You think about when we went to the pandemic, and hopefully we never have to go through that, but we took a lot of stuff out of that and how we can create, videos now that can be saved. So teachers can create whole teaching classes. And as long as that audio is good, then the kids can receive that. So a good item to sell. Sports broadcasters, if you ever watch ESPN or anything, like some of the guys that when they're doing the recordings from the homes, you'll see them using these type of devices. There was a question in the chat that says, are the mics that we're presenting right now available at D&H? Yes, they are. We have a wide variety of mics. Yes, these can all be purchased. Good partners with Logitech. Love the Blue mics. But yes, we have those and several other ones.
Yeah. And the thing that drove me, you brought up a great point that during the pandemic, like the teaching moved to a remote, and the number one thing that I think we were all at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was asking about webcams. I need a webcam so my students can see the teacher, or the teacher can be seen by the students. My question back on a regular basis was, how are the students hearing the teacher? Because that is far more important than seeing the teacher. The teacher can overcome not being seen if they can be heard clearly. And I just, much to your point, Chad, I just got out of a meeting a couple hours ago where there was someone that was presenting, but because of a variety of different issues, mostly network and using their phone as their microphone, their audio was very difficult to hear. Even though we could see the person, we had a tremendous difficult time hearing the person, and their story didn't get to us the way that we probably needed it to get the impact we need. So this is your number one tool, and these things in terms of the hardware you can purchase, actually, like if you go ahead and get yourself a USB microphone, you can spend anywhere from sub $100 to mid $150 and get an excellent microphone and immediately increase the value of your content and your ability to storytell. If you get into those XLR solutions, they're a little bit more costly. So those are usually reserved for people that know what they're doing. But I cannot recommend enough. Do not skimp on the audio quality and the microphones you're using. You will see a vast improvement in the content that's being created.
Don't let your customers skip on that too, because if they're unhappy with the technology, they'll try and return it to you. And if that's where, you being the best technical resource and us giving this information will help you, because we want your customers happy, because that makes you happy.
The second thing that is very important is lighting. Lighting sets lighting is one of the best visual tools you can use to enhance visibility of yourself, set a mood for the content you're creating or the event that is occurring, and give you a more professional presentation. Chad talked about, these businesses that are trying to build their brands and look more professional on the internet. Uh, Basic lighting can help you look more professional, and it's not difficult to achieve. Logitech has just released two products in the last year. Their LiDAR beam, which I have one above my camera right now, and their LiDAR glows. I've got one of these right now that's off to the left side of me, that's lighting one side of me, and I have a separate light that's lighting the right side of me. But I have a 3 light system right now because I want to make sure that my face to you guys is lit and evenly all across. It might be a little bit off because I have a microphone that is blocking one of the lights, but if I adjust my microphone, I can get more of an even lighting. I want to do that as well because I'm also using a green screen behind me. Green screens are great if you want to have more flexibility over the background you're using. Chad's right now using a virtual background, but that virtual background is being created through software. So the computer is constantly looking at Chad, trying to figure out where he is and cut him out of the background he's currently at, which is his desk, and then apply a new background over it. When you're doing a green screen, the camera's just looking for green behind me now. And if it's lit in properly, like it is, it makes it much easier for the software to create a easy key to make it look like I'm sitting in this room where I've got a mountain in the background. I wish I had that mountain in the background. That looks great back there. I love the TV that I have somewhere over here. I like that TV. But, for me personally, it's just a green screen. See, it's just a green screen. And that TV's still kind of there, but it's just a filter in OBS. So it's another advantage out there to kind of give you more flexibility in what you're doing.
And it adds that professionalism.
Yeah.
Again, when you go home, I hope when everyone gets done with this, they go and watch some YouTube videos. You can pick out which person's creating content in their basement using the halogen lights that are in it, and then someone that's actually using good quality lighting, using a green screen, and coming off of that professional look. It does make the difference. You can have a really smart person, but if visually our eyes are seeing a basement dwelling podcaster, we'll probably discredit them a little bit, even though they might be really smart. It is how you present. It is how you come off. And that's why we are recommending this great quality product to make people better content creators.
I'm laughing a little bit because the last thing we're going to talk about is software. And prior to us going live, I told Austin that I was going to record my cam locally, and I forgot to go into my software and do it. So, doing great, guys. Software is massively important for basically getting your content out to live streaming platforms. A software option that I would recommend you look at is Streamlabs. It's also been purchased by Logitech, so Logitech has kind of taken the mantle of Streamlabs. It's built off of OBS, and if you don't know what OBS is, it's a open source piece of software that allows people to basically take a camera, take a video source, and live stream that content to any platform. You can also record locally, which I was going to do for Austin, so he'd have a clean recording of my camera, but you have to hit record to do it. But it allows you to kind of then create local content as well. It also has a lot of great free plugins to help enhance not only your streaming, but the content you're creating as well. If you go into the resources, you can download the software for free. I have the link to download the software. It's something you want to look at and kind of explore more about, because this software can be used for a wide variety of things, including just creating a virtual background with a green screen for your Teams or WebEx calls. You can do the same thing if you're trying to create content on TikTok. You can just set your camera up as that and have a more professional look through software like OBS and Streamlabs. But with that, I could talk for another 4 hours about this, and Chad's probably heard me talk of another 4 hours about this. But we're coming up on the end of the hour, so I wanted to take a moment to answer any questions you might have and kind of get you guys on your way.
Yeah, that was very well done, Chris. I learned some stuff. I act like I know it all, but it's always great to
You
learn
know
more
more than
stuff.
you let on, buddy. Don't sell
Um,
yourself short.
I hope everybody out there in the audience found this enjoying. I hope you guys return. We will have future broadcasts like this, going deeper and diver, and inviting more of our partners in. I'll leave by saying that there's software is also just as important. There's even just to help you in everyday business, partners out there that have software. NVIDIA has software, broadcast software, where you can control your sounds and it can work on a lot of other stuff. All this stuff is on, already it's out there. And, you know, there's gaming computers and content creator computers. They're kind of the same thing. It's about the software you put into it. It's what you put into it. And, we're here to help you with this journey. I'm sure a lot of you out there are probably aware of this. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this refreshing, entertaining, and you come back. Thank you. Thank you for John, for the good job. Appreciate that. Are there any questions before we sign off and send you guys back to your work days?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and highlight it one more time, the questions thing. But Chad, we usually on the gaming side have a question that we always ask. I'm going to ask it to you. What are you playing right now?
What am I playing? I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
amazing.
it's so good.
Yes, and Warhammer Darkeye, but the new FIFA is coming out. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that word anymore.
Can't say
The
don't
new
say FIFA.
FC
FC. Yep.
23. So, if you guys want to leave in the chat what games you're playing, we'd love to know. And we hope to talk to you guys very soon.
Yep.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.